so much going on outside my house right now.
We don't want to know. We're dedicated to our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotown.
Scary Dog!
Pearson and Blazeball. Futurama.
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Stumptown, brought to you by the good people at Don't Tell Mom, The District, ABC Studios, and Disney ABC Domestic Television. Stumptown was an American crime drama that premiered on ABC September 25th, 2019. It was based on the aforementioned comic book of the same name that we talked about on Monday. You can find that in the archives now. We talked Stumptown Volume 1, which was created by Greg Rucka, Matthew Southworth, and Justin Greenwood, and adapted for television by writer-producer Jason Richman. It lasted for one season. It was renewed. I can't remember words. It was renewed for a second season. Then COVID happened. The world fell apart, and they ended up canceling it. Though ABC Signature is still looking to revive the series at some point in the future. And speaking of revivals, he's back. He disappears for months at a time, and then he shows up twice in 1 week on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the imitable, good to his mother, Ronnie Adams. How do you do, sir?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
I'm very good, sir. So, we talked on Monday about the comic book, and this was one of those deals where I was like, hey, I want to talk about this, and and I don't want to keep asking the same people. I haven't talked to you in a while. What do you think about Stumptown? And you went, sure.
Right.
So,
why the heck not?
Right, and I'll say what the heck. So you sat down, you watched it, you got some idea of what it was. You saw that Colby Smulders, who plays Dex Perios. What did you think about the show going into it, having not seen or read anything about it before?
Interested. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a good... I said this during source material. That's what we're on, right? Yeah. But I'm a sucker for a good detective story, and that's what this looked like. So I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." I read first, and then watched, which was, it's. I never want to be one of those. It's different in the book, guys, but it was really different in the book at some points. Yeah, I was like, I kind of knew what to expect, but, with TV and everything, you never know what to expect, TV and movies.
So I want to talk a little bit about my impressions of this. I didn't know, when they first advertised that Colby Smulders, who plays Maria Hill in the Marvel movies, and she was Robin on How I Met Your Mother, both of which I'm very familiar with, both properties.
Yes.
I was like, oh, she's going to be Dex Perios in Stumptown. And I had no idea it was based on a comic book, but I saw that it was sort of a noir detective type show, and I was like, I'm somewhat interested in that, but my time is so limited to watch stuff outside of what I'm podcasting about, I never really gave it a chance. And here's the other problem, and feel free to laugh yourself silly about this.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking snob when it comes to television.
I know you are. I know you are. I try to get you to watch stuff all the time, and you don't.
I get. Well, that's why that was so funny about the Community thing. Was it was like, will you please come down off your high horse and watch this really funny sitcom? Like,
remove the stick from your anus and watch this show.
I'm like, if it's not The Wire or Watchmen or like
The Wire I get. Mm-hmm. Watchmen, really?
I will defend Watchmen with my dying breath.
I know you will. I think Lovecraft Country's better.
Yes, you told me that, I believe, on Monday.
Yeah.
And I think most people would agree with you. But my point is, like, I'm such a snob when it comes to television. especially network television. Like network television, I tend to react to it like, ew. Like, oh,
I know you do.
Ugh, it's the lowest form of entertainment. It's like I'm the guy watching porn, so I don't know where I get off.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Not really, but I was like, there are so many other forms of entertainment, quote unquote, out there. You choose that as the lowest form.
I've said this to Robert, and I have talked about this. We've been on many a TV party and a lot of Damn You Hollywoods, and we both talk about how network TV tends to create some of the lowest common denominator entertainment because it's made for mass appeal. And so I tend to, and there's plenty of network entertainment out there, network shows that are great, like Hannibal. Robert and I talked Hannibal for 3 years. We did one season a year around Halloween, and it was one of the best shows in the history of television, and it was a network show. And there's been many others that have won, been award winning, won Golden Globes, won Emmys and stuff like that. That that don't deserve my ire. So,
then there's me, the schlub that'll watch anything. From I just got done watching the Joey. He's Joey on Friends. What's his name? Matt LeBlanc show, Man with a Plan on Netflix, and I laughed the entire time through it. And I now realize you would hate that.
There's a part of me that wants to watch The Crew just because it's getting torn up by the critics.
Yeah. Well, me and my hate relationship with critics anyway.
Yeah. Well, the and for those people, I really want to hear him talk about Stumptown. We're getting to it, I promise.
Yeah.
But I have to just bring this up because I talked about this with my wife too. I read the Variety and a couple of other places where they reviewed the Crew, which is the Kevin James sitcom on Netflix that deals with a NASCAR pit crew, and apparently it's lazy, misogynistic, sexist writing, and I'm like, I wonder if
right
it
up
is.
my alley.
Now I want to watch the show, and I don't really enjoy anything by Kevin James. I think the last thing I enjoyed of his was Here Comes the Boom.
Man, I love that movie. I'm so glad you said that.
It's great. A fat guy goes into MMA. It's my dream come true.
Right. Wait. Yeah. Okay.
Is Selma Hayek in that? I don't remember. Who's the Hispanic chick that he's trying to hit?
She's his love interest.
Right.
I mean, you got Kevin James, who is pear-shaped to say the least.
Sure.
Well, not really. I mean, the dude has, he's seen a gym a time or two in his life. You can tell.
Right.
And I think it was Grown Ups where they showed an old football picture of him. He's a pretty big dude. Mm-hmm. But he not only does he go into MMA and start winning, but he gets Salma Hayek.
Yeah, that really is my dream come true. Punching people and Mexican women.
Or hot women, I was going to say. An attractive lady.
That too.
But okay. I do like, I do like Latina women, I guess you could say.
Salma Hayek is the hottest woman on earth.
She is close.
I can't imagine a hotter woman. I really can't.
I have a thing for redheads, so I can't really say anything.
Are you more of a what's her face? Mira from the Aquaman movie? God, Amber Heard.
No, gosh. I mean, if she weren't a horrible, abusive spouse, maybe.
That's one side of the story.
No. It is the side of the story. I've heard the tapes.
Okay.
I've listened, and I'm not one to judge right off the bat, but she is. Okay, let's just go. That's a different show.
I was gonna say, I made a snarky comment. I don't want to get into this.
Right. I may unshelf Screaming Boy for one final show after that one to do it. It would be the final show.
I'm sure Johnny Depp had it coming. All right, I got that out of my system.
Dear God, man.
All right, I'm done now. Anyway, so
In more ways than one, sir.
So yeah, like the Kevin James thing, like I would watch it now just for the controversy and just to fight with critics. But like that's the kind of thing like that's not what I want to spend my time watching. That's
Right.
more my wife's thing. She likes stupid comedy. She thinks the grown up the grown up movies are hilarious. In any case, so related to Stumptown. I knew it was there. I was somewhat interested because I like the genre. But it was one of those where, because I didn't know it was related to a comic book, I didn't pay it no mind, and I watched other stuff, and I forgot it existed. And then a year later, it's now off the air, and I'm going through Wikipedia pages, and I'm trying to find stuff related to comic books that we can talk about, especially as the movie calendar was falling to pieces as it was going up.
Right.
You know, like I have all this stuff laid out for the first 3 months of the year, and it all fucking went to pieces on me in one weekend.
Right. Hey, COVID. We don't
Yeah.
make movies anymore. We don't do that.
Yeah, it's like if it's not on Netflix, it ain't coming out. So I was looking for other stuff to talk about, and I was like, oh, holy shit, Stumptown was based on a Greg Rucka book. I like Greg Rucka. We should watch this. And so I found the show. I watched it on Hulu. And we should probably get into it. The premise, much like the comic book, is we have now the show differs a little bit from the book. In the book, she's already an established PI. In the show, which we're primarily focused on tonight, she is an ex-Marine who worked in intelligence. She spent the last 7 years sort of coping with her PTSD, day drinking, taking care of her brother who is disabled, and gambling. And where we find her is in massive amount of debt to the Native American casino of the locale, and no job, and just trying to put her past behind her.
Right.
And in much like the very first volume of the book, the flashpoint is that the casino owner, her granddaughter, has gone missing. And like I said, Colby Smulders Dexperios is not a PI just yet, but she is into the casino for a lot of money. So they're like, go find my daughter, use whatever military training you've got, go find my daughter and bring her back alive. We'll wipe your debt out. And that sets her... that sets everything in motion, and a lot of it from the pilot is a lot like that entire 4 issues of the first volume, right down to being kidnapped and thrown in a trunk.
Right.
So
right. I mean, I was really surprised with that very first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty true to the source material, if you will. You were so exasperated with me on that. You're an idiot, Ronnie.
But you're not wrong. It definitely kept the spirit, right down to the shifts in time. So the show picks up. She's in the trunk, and you've got the 2 guys driving, and she gets out of the trunk and she attacks them, and they go off the road and nearly crash. Similar thing in the book, and then it goes back to her gambling, and then it goes forward and back and forward and back, and it's like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
With less feet.
Yeah, we're not going to go through these episode by episode, but I did want to ask you what you thought of the pilot.
It was good. I mean, it did a lot more for me than with Dex. It did a lot more for me with Dex than the comic book did, to be honest with you.
One of the things I liked about it immediately, without having read the book first, was Dex, despite being a Marine, was not Superwoman.
Right. Yes. Now, she was Army in the book. I think we talked about that. Mm-hmm. And they made her a Marine in this one. So, and like you said, not Superwoman. I mean, she needs to learn how to fight.
Yeah, she gets her ass kicked.
Yeah.
Which I like. Not that I want to see women get their ass kicked, but my point is, like, it was funny. I was listening to Robert and Sean talk about Captain Marvel, and Robert's big complaint about Captain Marvel is she's invulnerable, so there's no tension. She's never in any physical danger. Now, you contrast that with a character like Dex Perios, who, while she's no Shrieking Violet, but
Right.
she's entirely vulnerable. She gets her ass kicked. She gets overpowered. She has to kind of think her way out of situations where, the men attacking her are physically stronger than her. And I'm like, oh, good. A hero, a heroine who is who is endangered.
Right. I get that. Because, I mean, okay. Okay, Captain Marvel. There is nothing redeeming about that movie other than Samuel L. Jackson for me. Mainly because of I'm right there with him. She's supposedly invulnerable, as well as a wooden actor. It's just one of those things where I felt no excitement, no anything for the character in any of the movies for her. I was just like, in fact, when she came on screen, like, oh, okay, so I got the chills and the wigglies and everything else wanted to cheer in Endgame when everybody showed up, just like everybody else. I am human, so yes, I did it too. But when she came on, when I realized that was her that was attacking the Thanos' ship, I rolled my eyes. I did, because I
when
was just
Laser
like,
Lady showed up.
When what?
I said when Laser Lady showed up.
Yeah, she's awful, man. Give me. I mean, like, even okay. The Hulk is obviously the most physically strong character in all the MCU, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be the cinematic universe or even, I mean, like, he's definitely in the comics. He's the most powerful. Hulk is the strongest one there is, because the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. Even he was flawed. He was scared, Yeah. And Banner, there's that dual personality he shares with Bruce Banner. So this infinitely powerful person is not infinitely powerful because there is a flaw in his character. There is no flaw in Captain Marvel because they, strong woman character. Yeah. Well, make her a strong woman character with some visible flaws and character growth, then I'll like her.
Right.
Because that's what I want out of all of my characters, whoever they are. And that's what you get with Dex. And this, she is flawed. She has character growth, and you can see where things don't always work out for her.
Yeah. Throughout the 18 episodes of season 1, there are times where she fucks up. I mean, she's
absolutely.
She's not what I like about. I was thinking about some, like the Sabrina character in Sabrina the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Yeah.
Where she messes up on occasion, but everything always works until she died. Everything always kind of worked out for her.
Oh, she died?
Oh, you haven't I'm sorry, spoilers.
I will never watch that show. I do not care.
At the end, she went to the happily ever after or whatever the fuck it was. She went to.
So they canceled the show?
Yeah, the show's done.
Yeah, at least there's something good that came out of it then.
Anyway, the comparison that I'm drawing is that
I channeled my inner Pat on that one.
Even though she was a flawed character who had character arcs, everything always kind of worked out for her. Yeah. Whereas with Dex, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes she's just a shitty character.
Yeah.
She's just a shitty person, and things don't work out, and people get sick of her.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That's what I like about her.
But she's not McNulty either, who by the end of it has, or Mackie, who like by the end of it the world has turned on them and nobody, and they are alone. That nobody wants them.
I think that you just described Nick Nolte's actual life.
No, Mick Nolte from The Wire.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you said Nick Nolte, and then I was like, yeah, he plays characters like that, but mostly that's just him.
So my point is with Dex Perios in the show is they as you said, they made her flawed. Physically, she has challenges, and the show is about her kind of overcoming those things and trying to make the right decisions, even when sort of the base is fractured. The show deals a lot with her PTSD from her time in Afghanistan, but also like survivor's guilt. So we should talk about that for a minute. I've actually been dying to talk about this. So, one of the things they talk about in the show was that when in her youth, she dated a Native American boy who was kind of like Native American royalty in this family. And they were in love, but kind of a Romeo and Juliet thing. His parents were like, no with the white girl. Stay with your own kind. This isn't going to work for us.
Yeah.
And he ends up marrying another Native woman, and they have kids, but like anyone who may be forced to be with somebody they don't really want to be with, he gets wanderlust, he wants out, and he ends up following Dex into the military. And Dex makes a point of saying, like, I never asked him to come, I never asked him to come. I never said, come find me. I never said, I went because that's what I needed to do with my life. And he came of his own volition. And the family still resents her because they feel like had she called him, and she's like, I didn't though. It's like, you existed in that place. And therefore he came to you. Which I always thought was kind of funny. It was like they found any reason to hate on her. But so he goes, and while on a mission, his Humvee hits an IED, and it blows up, and he dies. And so she spent the last 7 years not only dealing with the trauma of being in a war zone, but also with the guilt of feeling responsible for his death. And as the show goes on, she talks about how, especially towards the last couple of episodes towards the end, where they start dealing with it directly, we see flashbacks of her interrogating a Muslim woman who may or may not have direct information regarding an attack, and that attack being the one on his Humvee. And so she feels guilty that she didn't do a good enough job interrogating this woman to get the information to prevent the attack, and now he's dead. And that's something she has felt and she has had to live with. So let me stop there. What did you think of that aspect of her character and that part of that story?
Loved it. It gave her some depth, man. It gave her, it added to her character where there was nothing in the book. Mm-hmm. You show me anybody that has been to an active military zone that doesn't carry something back with them. And God help us, God bless them, but that just happens. It's not a bad thing. It's an unfortunate part of being in the service and having that, and seeing action like that. So it also gave way that she was dealing with that negatively, with the drinking and the gambling and stuff, and thinking that's the only way she could actually survive, fend for her brother, and deal with what was going on in her head. So it put a little bit of I guess the word I'm looking for is it put a little bit of animosity towards her, as well as wanting to see her change and grow, mm-hmm. and deal and become a healthy, deal with this in healthy ways. So I like that, and I like the fact that they made her a little more, it's not one military branch over the other, but I don't know, it just seemed like a little more. She had a little more to do. It added to her background a little more with being a Marine. Mm-hmm. And the interrogator, I think she actually said at one point, she goes, I used to do this I used to get information out of people all the time. So I can make this person talk. So I was like, oh yeah, she was supposed, in this, she's an interrogator. And, so, I thought that was good, I thought, it gave depth to the character for when there wasn't any in the first 4 issues. Like I said, I've not read the rest. So I don't know. There could be more, mm-hmm. but for the very first part of it, there wasn't.
So shortly after she resolves the missing girl situation in the pilot, second episode, she's still not a PI yet, but she's biting on the idea, and we're going to talk about character by character, but I want to talk a little bit more about some of the more resonant plot lines in the show. So in the second episode, she's paid to do another gig. She's paid to find somebody for for a client, and she does, and she gets involved with the Portland PD, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But ultimately, this leads to her pursuing a PI license.
Yes.
She's now, it's now 3 episodes in, and she's like, okay, I gotta take this seriously. I gotta do this legally. So, and this is something that I think I'm good at, and it suits my current mental state. So I'm going to pursue this. And so the next couple of episodes are her getting the experience she needs, the hours that she needs as an apprentice PI. And this is where they bring in I don't remember the actor's name. I can look it up in just a second. But he played, I think, Bullock on Gotham. And so he's the old, the grizzled veteran PI, and he takes her on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know. Yeah.
And they do a couple of episodes of them working together and him kind of selling her out and betraying her. And it revolves around, there's a woman who carried a rich businessman's child, and I think she used to be like a stripper or something. And, and now he's divorcing her, and she hires this pair of PIs to find information on him so that he can't take away her child, some such thing. And ultimately, the PI that she's with sells out the woman after swearing to help her, sells her out, and gives the information to the businessman, who then, in fact, takes the kid. And it's a great series of episodes because this is where when you first meet Dex, you don't get a strong moral center from her. She's she's working from a place of guilt and poverty. So you don't necessarily get a good, strong moral center from her. And then throughout the course of these next series of episodes where she's dealing with the PI and he sells her out and he sells out this woman, she starts talking about, I don't want to be this. This is not good for me. This will make me hate myself even more. I want to genuinely help people who genuinely need help.
Yeah.
And so I thought in terms of building character and giving you, as much as I enjoy shows like The Shield and The Wire and all of that, I do get a little exhausted with shows where your central protagonist is a shit-ass person who you don't want to cheer for. It's a little disheartening. And so I like the fact that they made her flawed, but centrally a good person at heart.
Yes. Yeah, and you don't, like you said, you don't see that very often, that they are generally is a good person at heart. It's just like Walter White. Walter White turned out to be kind of a dick all along.
Right.
So I am the danger. Whatever, man. You were a high school teacher. But
I am the one who knocks.
I am the one. Yeah, I am the one who knocks. Which was a phenomenal line, and it's a phenomenal show.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not a redeemable character because in the end, what does he do? He gives the money to his wife and kids and everything, but he was, actively just a crappy person all around during that time. But she is a genuinely good person, but has gone through some hardships.
Exactly. The next couple of episodes, it's sort of a monster of the week kind of premise, case of the week. You learn they're kind of isolated-ish episodes. Some of the other characters have a little bit more going on from one episode to the next, and they sort of shift focus. Where she is the central character, but like another character might have a B plot going on that takes several episodes to resolve. And then they'll shift back to her, and she'll have a couple of episodes to resolve a thing, and then she'll go back to just monster of the week kind of stuff. And so it's an interestingly structured program. It's also, I think now is as good a time as any to talk about the rest of the cast here. It's also propped up by, I think, a stellar cast here, which is great because, like, this isn't exactly like the A-list players, but the people in this are phenomenal. Jake Johnson, who plays Gray McConnell, he's an ex-con. He owns the bar, the Bad Alibi, that her brother works at. Yes. And they slept together once, and they've been friends ever since. And so he's kind of her conscience at times. He's
her Jiminy.
Yeah, he's also the rock she clings to. The permanently friend zone guy. But he's Jake Johnson.
All too familiar.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch The New Girl?
Not really. I knew it was funny. I knew he was funny in it. So, but it didn't float my boat.
Jake Johnson has an everyman quality that's going to get him. Does. That unless he gets like a bad heroin habit, is going to keep him working until he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, Colby Smulders is great in the show, but I kind of think he's the best part of it.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. She's really good. She's good at anything she does, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of the one that just pulls it all together for me.
Yep.
And I enjoyed the fact that they gave him his own little storyline with his old, partner or boss or whatever he, was. Mm. No, that was her part. Yeah, his boss came later on. It was his partner. So it's good stuff.
He has an earnest quality about him that I don't see in a lot of male actors right now.
Yes.
And that lends itself well to the everyman type character. But yeah, he is earnest and honest, and he has a way of acting about him to where he's not overly dramatic, but I'm drawn in by his line readings because they're just brimming with earnestness. I feel like he's giving such an honest line reading and honest performance that I'm drawn in, even though that he's not particularly overdramatic. Like I
get that.
He's kind of dry in his line deliveries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and dry humor. I mean, like he knows he can deliver a line really well. He's a very smart actor.
Yes.
So there's not many people that have like superb line delivery. To be honest with you, Ryan Reynolds does, and mostly his is like a very good comedic line delivery. But I think Jake Johnson is one of those guys that has good, can really nail home a line and find that different way to make it unique. Find that way to make it unique and his own, and still good.
And while I think when you talk about like male actors, current male working actors oozing charisma. What's the first one that comes to mind? Chris Hemsworth. Chris Pine. Chris.
Well, I would put, let's just do the trifecta of Chris's: Pratt, Pine, and Hemsworth.
That's what I was saying. I was trying to get to Chris Pratt, and I couldn't remember his last name. But yeah. If you think about the three top male working actors right now, that get tons of work, the ones that everyone would say probably have like the most charisma are the Chris trifecta, the Hemsworth, Pratt, and Pine. But I'll tell you, Jake Johnson's no slouch in the charisma department.
No, he's not.
And so he is a big leg on the stool of this show. And when he's working, the whole show is working. He has such great chemistry with all the actors in the show. Not even just with Colby Smulders, but he has a lot of scenes with the kid who plays
her brother.
I'm trying to find him on here in the cast list. Ellis is his brother.
Ansel.
Yeah,
Ansel.
All right, so Ansel's played by Cole Sibis, who does an outstanding job.
Oh man, he's so good.
Yeah, I know from listening to. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the comedian now. The guy that was in Legit, the comedian. He was very famous for the gun control bit that he does. The Australian comedian, Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries.
Yeah, Jim Jeffries talked about how when they were doing Legit, and Legit was based off his real life friend who I think had MS, MS or something else. I don't remember what, but he was disabled and he was in a wheelchair. And he told the story about how he took him to go get laid, and that somehow became the premise for Legit. I don't know if yeah, have you ever seen Legit?
No.
You should. I haven't watched it either, but Jim Jeffries says it's great. Anyway.
What if I don't like him?
You don't like Jim Jeffries?
I don't know. I mean, I legitimately don't know. I've never really paid that much attention to him.
Go watch a couple of his Netflix things and before you make a final decision. If you don't like Jim Jeffries after hearing some of his stand-up, I understand.
Yeah.
But I think he's legitimately funny. No pun
I'm very
intended.
wary of any stand-up comedian anymore.
Okay. You might not like his gun control spiel that made him famous, but...
I think I'm familiar with that, but I don't know. I'm a gun owner, so...
Yeah, you're probably not going to love it, but that's what made him famous. That's not the only thing that's funny about him.
Right.
Him talking about his son and his son's mother is actually pretty funny. A lot of that stuff. Actually, one of the best bits he's ever that he's done that made me laugh that didn't concern politics or news type stuff was him talking about hanging out with a bunch of other male comedians, over an 8-ball of coke, discussing where women might be, and I died laughing when he told that story. He's like, well, the nursing school students will be getting out just now. Brilliant. Anyway, the point of this whole tangent was he produced a show based on a bit that he did about his disabled friend. And when they were trying to cast the disabled friend in the show, they wanted an authentically disabled person. And it's, I would assume, from his experience, it was a little difficult to find a legitimately disabled actor for the role. There were some, and they did audition a lot of them. But it's not there isn't a wealth of talent out there. But I'll tell you what, they found this kid, and this kid's great for this show. Cole
yeah,
Sivis.
absolutely. I thought I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought he did a great job. And Jake Johnson did honestly an amazing job interacting with him as well.
Yeah, they have super good chemistry together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else about Jake Johnson or any of his various?
No, we've loved on him enough.
Okay. We talked a little bit about Cole Sivis. Not a whole lot more to add to that. He plays, as we said, Ansel Perios. He's Dex's brother with Down syndrome, and he works at the bar. And they gave him nothing in the comic that we read, but they gave him a fair amount in the show.
I had a hard time realizing that he was had Down syndrome in the comic book, or was he meant to have Down? I mean, I don't know. It was one of those things where I needed more from him too, but character development was not a strong suit for Stumptown the comic.
What I liked about the treatment of this character in the show was they gave him a bit of growth as a character as well, because he's kind of infantilized in the beginning. It's she's taking care of him, and she doesn't let him do too much for himself, and it's a lot of, will you watch him, will you take care of him? Like, the only reason why he ends up in the bar is literally because she can't be watching him all the time. Right. She's out doing missions and stuff, so, or she's gambling or day drinking or whatever the case may be. So she kind of pawns him off on Gray, and then it's like, well, if you're here, you might as well be working. And oh, look, he's capable. He's absolutely capable of doing it. And he had, over the course of the show, ends up running the bar, basically.
Yeah. He was the first one that was there when his old partner came a knocking. Mm-hmm. And he knew right away. He was like, nah, this dude's sus, man. Get him out of here. You know? So
they gave him a girlfriend at one point in the show.
He
goes on, he actually gets frustrated with Dex at one point, and it's like, I need to move away. I need to be away from you. You're not good for me. You know, which
That's
is
hard.
I was like, yeah, that was heartbreaking. So he, but what I liked about that, once the initial like heartbreak of him like saying you're not good for me, Dex, comes around, like he spends a couple of episodes living with Gray, and and Gray sort of reframes the whole thing as he wants to be a man, he wants to do man stuff. And I really liked that. It kind of made me think about like, a child in a divorced parent situation. Where like you might be his mom and you might be great, but you're not his dad. And and there are just certain things a dad does with and for their child that a mom can never do. And people might hear that, might be like, oh, there's plenty of moms that are both mom and dad. I'm going to say it again. There are just some things that only a dad can do. Right. And that's kind of the relationship that develops between Ansel and Gray.
I would have never thrown a baseball legitimately if it weren't for my dad. Because my mom doesn't have a clue. She doesn't know how to play baseball.
Right.
She does, but she'd be like, she's just one of those people like she doesn't. So she would have tried her hardest, but I would have been after all. I've been like, we're good, we're good. Kind of a deal. And I love baseball. So I agree. I completely agree with you on that. And in the long run, she's playing parent to a grown man.
Yeah.
Who can hold down a job and who can make his own decisions, be it with his Down syndrome, anyway. And so it was really cool to see them have somebody that has Down syndrome and treating them like an actual human being. That hasn't happened since. Oh gosh, what was the show with Corky?
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. It hasn't happened since that show, in my opinion.
Right.
Even in the movie. Oh gosh, terrible movie. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it was hilarious to me. But The Ringer, they tried to show people, but they didn't even use people with actual disabilities or anything in the movie. They got a couple people, a couple of guys with Down syndrome, but most of them were actors that were acting like they had Down syndrome, And I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, there are actors out there with this condition, with this, in their life, so get them. So yeah, I like the character. Go take a drink. I said character development again, but I like the development of Ansel because dude.
Yeah, I like the fact that his character wasn't limited to I have Downs.
Right. He had a job. He had a girlfriend.
Right.
He wanted to become a man. He wanted to become his own man, basically.
He got frustrated. He was sad. Right. He was happy. He went through the full range of human emotions like any other person.
Like any other human. Yes.
And I have to say, like now's as good a time as any to talk about the writing of this show. I said before, network television tends to be, writing for dummies. But I have to tell you that, like, they really went above and beyond on like, does this show, speak to the nature of man and the heart of humanity? No.
Does it have to?
No, it absolutely doesn't. It could be solid writing without, like I don't think this rises to the level of, a show that does speak to the nature of man and and the greater societal issues. I think it tells a great story, and I think the writing is solid. We were talking on Willy's Wonderland last night, and I said, you can write a schlocky movie about a guy beating up animatronic murderers, but the writing still has to be good, and it still has to be consistent with its own universe. You can't just put bullshit out there and be like, well, the bullshit's funny, so it's fine. Like, no, that's lazy. And so, to relate that back to Stumptown, like, Stumptown is a very entertaining show, and it's extremely well written. It just doesn't rise to that next level of, like, Shakespearean quality, that people compare like The Wire to. But it doesn't have to, and not every show has to be The Wire either.
I mean, and I'll say the same thing that I said in our chat the other night. I don't want that all the time. Just give me a good story. Entertain me, monkeys. Entertain me.
I watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom the other day, just to give you for instance. Yeah. And at the end of it, it's like a fucking kick in the teeth.
Right.
And it's like, that's great. Sometimes sometimes I need you to kick me in the jimmy. Yes, do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
And other times, I just need to see someone get hit with a pie in the face.
Right. Give me the pie in the face, man. I don't know.
And so, like, Stumptown hits all the right notes. There's a lot of really juicy characters. There's some great stories. Like, I binge a lot of shows, and it's my preferred method of watching television. But as I was talking about on the Disenchantment show that we did, there are times I'll be binging a show and it gets exhausting, and I just want it to be over. And I start playing on my phone and losing interest, and that never happened with this.
Well, can I be a little bit honest?
Sure.
It did towards the end.
Okay.
Because I was trying my hardest to get through all of it in a quick, in a rather quick, quicker than I should have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me. That's all on me. But after I set it down and went back to it, I got back into it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that's on me. There's very few shows that I can really just sit down and watch from beginning to end. But this could be one of them.
Yeah, I was definitely not disinterested at any given point. Like, especially when they get to the mystery of how her ex-boyfriend really died. I was like, oh, I'm curious. Because here's the thing. If the show would start to lose me on the stuff dealing directly with Dex, I would be more interested in what was going on with Gray.
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes I would even be interested in what was going on with another actor in this, Adrian Martinez, who plays Tookie, who starts off as he owns a food truck, and he becomes a part of the bar, and he occasionally helps out on a mission or something, but he's mostly there as sort of an ancillary character, provides a little bit of comic relief, and I thought he was going to become tiresome very quickly, but I actually found him again to be. I was very drawn in by his character and by his earnestness, and he's a character who's a chef, and he makes it very much a distinction about being a chef versus a cook, and so he has scenes with the police captain, where they're talking about food and they're talking about it the way I like to talk about music, with so much relish and enthusiasm. That was not a pun, by the way. I did not mean to use relish as a pun.
Relish. I was wondering. I was like, oh, no, Mark. Lowest form of comedy.
Relish and enthusiasm, sir. But yeah, I kind of like the fact that they take 5 minutes out of a show to give him a monologue about food.
Yeah.
And there was a whole part of a show that was just dedicated to him bonding with the police captain over tamales and shit.
Yes, absolutely. And going back to Ansel a little bit. I mean, what episode was it where Ansel was like, "No, without Tookie's food, the bar's going down." Right.
It was midway through.
Midway through, somewhere through that. Yeah. And it was just like, I'm going back to him because it just showed that. I mean, he was smart. He wasn't just the token character that you throw in just to tick a box. They wrote him smart. And I have friends, with loved ones with Down syndrome, and they're, these people, do not get credit for who they are, for being people. And that's what pisses me off the most about it. But it's just I loved that. I love that. I actually, like you said, I liked Tookie as a character. Have you ever watched the movie Chef?
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, good. I don't know if we've ever talked. Have you covered it on the network yet?
No.
Pencil me in. You and I are covering this. It's a I don't care what it's not a Damn You Hollywood or On Trial or anything like that, because honestly, you know this. No one should ever prosecute this movie because it is amazing.
Okay, we'll figure something out.
Yes, it is.
I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal because I actually binged it a while back, but I binged it in the middle of my jaw being in agony. So some of it I was kind of like, maybe let's do a combined like TV party for the Chef Show and Chef.
Yeah, I would. I'm totally in that. Totally in
cool.
for that.
Yeah,
because I've watched all of the Chef Show as well.
So have I. And I might have to go back and rewatch some of it, but I think it would be fun to talk about the Chef Show and compare it to the movie.
Because the fact that they love food so. Okay, yeah, I'll shut up now. We got to talk about Stumptown.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I watch a lot of. We don't talk about it on the network much because, like, why would we? But like, I watch a lot. Like, I watch Top Chef, and I used to watch like Worst Cooks in America, and I love. I watched what's the Netflix show Chef's Table. Like I love people who are like passionate about food, and I always come back to this with Jesse and I did a TV party for Legends of Tomorrow, and people who have heard enough of my podcast know what I'm about to reference. But
yeah,
when Steele does the monologue in the Elvis episode about the history of rock and roll, and he talks about it with such passion, I'm like, it's one of my favorite like television monologues ever. I just love hearing people talk passionately about the things that they really enjoy and are knowledgeable of, and just have a great love of. And so whether it's food or music or movies or whatever, like I can just sit and listen to somebody gush about their passions. It's part of the reason why I do podcasts. I like hearing like you and everybody else that we do the show with, like get excited about stuff and want to talk about things, or share their disappointment that something isn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And I'm the same way, but I also like to talk about my passions, and I get into those people that are like, shut up. when I'm talking about tabletop games, D&D, anything like that, I go overboard. I'll admit, but I like to hear what people are interested in.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, as far as a good show, Stumptown was good, man. It was legitimately a really interesting show.
We got to talk about, Detective Miles Hoffman. He's the only other character we really haven't talked about. He starts off arresting Dex for unpaid parking tickets, as a matter of fact.
Yes, he does.
He gets mildly involved in the pilot, and then he is race and gender swapped, and I think sexuality swapped with the detective from the book, who is a white gay woman, I think. And he is a straight black man in the show. And he starts off with a relationship with Dex, and it becomes one of those where she likes sleeping with him, but she prefers him doing stuff for her related to her casework. And he quickly gets like wise to it, and after a while, having sex with her isn't worth the trouble that she causes, and the feeling that he's being taken for granted. And it is one of the only times in the show that Dex looks like a really shitty person with no redeeming values, is her relationship to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to end well, mainly because I liked him as a character. I was like, yeah, this doesn't bode well for him, because she's a piece of crap right now. He's not, and it never works out for characters like that.
Yeah, she. It's funny with relationship to him specifically. She does this thing where she's like, I need him to do stuff for me, but I also like him as a person, and I don't want to be regarded as shitty. And so she's walking this really fine line and keeps falling off the fence.
Yes.
And she gets back on the fence, and she tries, and he keeps tolerating it until he finally says, "Enough's enough. Your vagina isn't worth it."
Yeah.
But he has a really great subplot with his dad. His dad is a defense attorney, and there's a couple of episodes where they run afoul of each other.
Yeah.
And he has some great interactions with his father character, who is Stephen Williams, who I want to look at what else he was on, because where I know him from, because I know I've seen him and stuff. Like he's a longtime character actor, but I'm trying to fuck, he's been in everything. He was in Lock and Key. That might have been what I remember him from recently.
Okay. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was on True Detective.
There's a show I didn't keep up with like I wanted to.
I've seen I've seen the second season. Thank you. I saw the second season. I know the first season's like everyone's favorite, and I came in on the second season. 21 Jump Street. That's where I know him from.
What did he play in 21 Jump Street?
He's Captain Adam Fuller.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Captain Adam Fuller. Right, and then he was on Booker. Remember Booker?
No.
Oh, Booker had Richard Grieco in it.
Oh, Booker!
Yes, he was not Johnny Depp there for a while.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Depp left the show and Richard Grieco replaced him, and he was not Johnny Depp.
Yeah, terrible.
And then he got his own show because Johnny Depp came back.
Yeah. I remember that. I do. Wow. Wow, I kind of wish I didn't remember that.
As far as current films, he was last in Birds of Prey. He was in It. He was in 22 Jump Street.
22 Jump Street. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. So anyway, he's been in shit tons of stuff. But I think when I looked at him and I'm like, why do I know that face? It's 21 Jump Street. Gonna get jumped down on Jump Street. I said jump.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe. Yeah.
If I had infinite amount of time, I would absolutely do a TV party for 21 Jump Street. I used to love that show.
That show, it was good for a while. Then it
who didn't want to dress like, as a white person, who didn't want to dress as a Mexican gangster after watching Johnny Depp walking down the hallway with like Conan from the late...
Point taken. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But wasn't there a thing where he towards the end of that I'll end our 21 Jump Street with this. Wasn't there a point in the show where he was so frustrated with it and didn't want to do it anymore that he suggested that his character just walk around with a jar of peanut butter and eat it all the time?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, like there was like he wanted to go on and do other things, and he was contractually obligated to stay there, and a whole mess. And then that was the reason when he showed up in 21 Jump Street as the cameo, he was like throughout the whole thing when you didn't know it was Johnny Depp, he was eating a jar of peanut butter.
Anything more about Detective Miles Hoffman?
No.
Okay, he didn't really ring out. He didn't really ring out to you.
No, he was. Yeah, he was okay. He was an okay character.
All right, last thing I'm going to bring up, and then we'll close out the discussion because it sounds like you're losing steam there, buddy.
It sounds like I'm what? You
sound like you're losing steam on me.
No, maybe, but not really. You know, I'll step as long as I need to. You know.
So Monica Barbaro is a cutie patootie. And
yes,
she's an adorable gal, and she plays.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
She plays Liz Malero, who briefly dates Gray for a handful of episodes, and I wanted to talk about this just because of the weird way it all played out, because she does a lot of the lingering, looking at the camera, you know, like all shifty.
Yeah.
She does that a lot in the few episodes she's in.
A little too much, yes.
Yeah, were you wondering, like, what plot she was, like, she clearly was trying to separate Gray and Dex, and she said as much when she gets found out at the end of that arc, and he unceremoniously throws her out of the bar.
Yeah.
But
what was the actress's name again? I can't remember.
Monica Barbero.
Yeah. I honestly didn't know. I thought maybe she was going to be like, as ridiculous as it sounds, that's how my mind works because I watch too many movies and TV shows as it is. But, she was going to be some secret, sleeper agent for who he used to work for and all this other stuff, and, it was going to somehow tie back to, what's his name? Alan.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Alan. Now I'm just looking at the people in the cast in the shows, but Alan was the guy that was the weirdo that paid her $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Jack. I thought it was going to somehow tie back to Jack, but she was just chucked out of the bar. That was it. The end.
Right. That was the thing.
I thought it was going to be some sort of dark secret that was going to come back to haunt Gray from his past. No, she was just not good.
Yeah. She plays all shifty, and you know that she's got an ulterior motive, and you're thinking it's going to be bigger than it ends up being, and it's just, nope, she just wants Gray all to herself and doesn't want to share him with Dex.
Right. Which is, is a good plot if it's a romantic comedy. But obviously it's not. And I'm just like, okay, we can do a little bit of that, but give me some more meat on the bones of this.
Yeah.
Make her, an assassin or a ninja or something. Just
right.
Give me something. But nope, she was just a psycho girlfriend that got tossed out on her ear.
And that was the thing, like, I think the show is very well written. It's very solid. But this was one of those ones where I was like, are you purposely trying to make me believe this is going to be bigger than it is? Because this is very much, again, like, you've built up this character in such a way over a series of episodes to where you think, like, there's got to be more to this. And it turns out there isn't. She just, like, no one will ever be close to you because Dex will always be in the way. Okay, well, you still shouldn't have slept with her, and you still shouldn't have lied, so bye. Okay. And then it's over. Like,
bye?
Yeah. I'm like, you're not going to blow up the bar? Or, you don't secretly work for a mob boss or something? What the fuck? You're just some girl?
You purposely, you did this on purpose. This is dick move.
Yeah.
Dick move.
Yeah, that would be like my one. I've gushed so much about this show, and I was really excited to talk about it with you. But that's my only like real complaint here was that I feel like the writers went out of their way to make her seem bigger than what she ends up becoming, and then that was the only real part of the show where I was disappointed with how something got resolved. Like, I'll find myself watching a show and they'll resolve it a certain way, and I just want to punch one of the characters. And that happens a lot with me watching television. Right. Like I'll watch it, I'm just like, oh, if I could kick you in the balls, writer, for writing it that way. And this one, I didn't really have that.
That happens way too much.
I didn't have that with the show until that moment, and that was the only time in the show, and I thought it was worth talking about.
I will be honest with you, that was the only big problem. I'm like you, that was the only big problem I had with it. There weren't many problems. This was overall just a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, it's kind of sad that it doesn't get it doesn't continue, or I mean, hopefully it does. But COVID shut the world down, so we don't know. But as far as it, have they said? I can't remember.
They lost a showrunner, and there was the issue of the change in showrunners. Plus the delay in production because everything got shut down in California for a while.
Right.
I suppose. So it's ABC Signature that's shopping it around, and I suppose
they're shopping at the streaming sites, aren't they?
I was going to say, like, ABC is part of Disney, and Disney owns Hulu. I don't know how this isn't a no-brainer.
Why? I don't understand why that's not being a thing.
That was my issue with the new Warrior show too. Like, I don't know if you know about that, But
it never came to fruition, did it?
no, they shot the pilot and that was it. And no one's ever seen hide or hair of the pilot.
Yeah, I want the pilot. I want to at least see the pilot.
Right. I know that, like, Marvel's Most Wanted got as far as an actual produced pilot, and then it just didn't get picked up. Like,
Right.
okay, well, that shit happens.
Yeah.
But like, the New Warriors pilot has, like, it was the New Warriors was supposed to air on Freeform, and then Freeform decided not to do it, and then it was like, well, we don't know what to fucking do with this. And I'm like, you own 2 fucking streaming services.
Right. I mean, we have Runaways now, and Runaways wasn't. I mean, it was a Hulu thing,
Right.
yeah, but I mean, like, it doesn't scream Disney Plus to me, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But we have Runaways on there now. I love Runaways the comic book, but the Runaways the show was good too, but it wasn't as good as the comic book in my opinion. But that's just me. But it's like, at least just put it on there, or, give us something with that. And it's the same thing with this. Your company literally owns a streaming service too.
Right.
Just what's the problem?
Yeah, if you can get production together and get a budget going, what is there to shop around? It just goes on Hulu.
Right.
My God, considering, like, I could pull up I'm not going to because no one wants to hear me read yet another list, but like I could bring up the list right now of potential of like on just Hulu what's in the works. It's as long as my fucking arm, and it goes on forever. Like,
And half of it I probably don't want to see.
There's shit in the pipeline at Hulu, and I'm like, you're fucking telling me? It was like the thing with, like, the Orville. Like, that's another one that they can't seem to get the 3rd season going, and no one knows when the hell it's going to come out. Like, they kicked it off of Fox proper, and it was like the 3rd season was going to debut on Hulu, and who the fuck knows when that's coming out?
What'd they kick it off of Fox proper for?
I honestly don't know what the reason was.
Huh.
I'd have to look it up, but I just remember the news item that came out a little ways back, before COVID even, that the Orville was getting kicked off of Fox, and that the third it had been renewed for a 3rd season, but it was going to be Hulu exclusive. And so just to round this back to Stumptown, like, I get that the network executives at ABC were like, hey, it's taken too long to get this thing out. We're not going to be able to get it onto the network in enough time, and we want the quality to be good, so let's just not do this. Okay, if there's no interest in doing it any further, that's one thing. But when I read a line like, ABC Signature is still shopping it around, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you own, like, a third of the lanes of traffic to distribute. What the fuck do you mean shop around?
Right.
Like, I don't understand television, apparently.
None of us do, buddy. None of us do, apparently. Because, like, you and I both know that you had some good pitches and nobody listens.
No, well, they do listen. They steal my stuff.
That's true. Yeah, good call.
All right. I'm going to give you unfortunately, I've talked over you once or twice. I'm going to give you the last word, and I'm going to be utterly silent. Any last words?
It's not like I'm important. I mean, like, I don't say good things.
You have the last word here, sir.
If you need something, I mean, like, if you want something that's about a season long and something to make you want more, then you need to watch Stumptown. If you don't want any of those things but just want to watch a good TV show, you need to watch Stumptown. It's, I mean, like, good character development, good everything. It's just, overall, just give it a try. I want to say the same thing about the comic book, but, it's a good read, but, it didn't, like, I don't think I would keep it up, but hey, you never know. But let's at least give the show a try.
So it got a 92% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics.
You're kidding.
Yeah, the critics loved it.
They actually liked something that was good?
Yep. On Metacritic, it scored a 73 out of 100. Generally favorable reviews.
Check it in.
And I think they were. I think in some of these cases they might have only been reviewing the pilot. In terms of viewership, it started with almost 10 million viewers, and by the end of its run, they were down to about half of that. But it got down to about half of that about 5-6 episodes in, and stayed roughly there.
Well, I mean, still half of that is.
Yeah. No, I don't think any show retains, its premiere viewers for the entire run of the show.
Everybody wants to give something a try, and then they find something they don't like about it.
Right. But yeah, it started with about 9.1, and then it drops into the 5s and pretty much stays into the 5s from about episode 5 on.
Nice.
So, and it never dropped below 4. So it was a fairly well watched show for a network television. It aired 10 o'clock on ABC. So right there, you lose a part of your potential audience because people are in bed by then. But like I said, it was fairly well watched.
That's that's the nail in the coffin for a lot of shows.
Yeah, 10 o'clock is not a great time to air a show. It had 9 o'clock might have been the show might have actually done better. But yeah, I think Stumptown. I think had COVID not happened, we'd be talking about a second season of Stumptown right now.
Absolutely.
And I think it would have run for a number of seasons before they finally said,
"Thanks, COVID.
Let's do something else." So yeah, COVID killed another show. Oh well.
All
right,
shocker.
All right, Ronnie. Go ahead and do your plugs.
I'm a giant nerd, and I play a lot of D&D. And so from there, playing D&D only led to, hey, let's stream this and make everybody else, or hope everybody else wants to watch it. So I now stream D&D on a Twitch channel called Misfits and Miscreants. We have 2 shows. One is every Tuesday night, which it has been postponed till tomorrow night because Tuesday night, last night I was just mentally and physically worn out, so I just couldn't do it. So I postponed it until tomorrow night, so watch us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We play a lovely campaign called Curse of Strahd, which is vampires and magic and swords and all that good stuff. And then every other Saturday, this Saturday and every other Saturday after, we play another campaign called Trouble in Winterhold, where I am a player in this one and I'm not the dungeon master. Lots of fun, lots of laughs, good stories all around. Please join us. In between time, I stream a lot of video games. I do some Q&As as far as D&D or tabletop games or anything like that. And then I also do unboxings and fun little things like that. If I get something new and pretty that has to do with tabletop role playing or anything like that, I open it on stream so everybody else can see it as well. And then we're going to start playing some board games, card games, stuff like that on our free time online, just so we can get some more content out there and do some fun stuff. As far as that goes, my Twitch channel, Misfits and Miscreants, please come follow. I'm on the road to 100 followers on there, which is honestly harder than you think on Twitch. And I'm on the road to becoming an affiliate on there. So once we hit 100 followers, I'm going to do a little giveaway, a little surprise, on that. And then once we become an affiliate, I'll do a larger giveaway. As far as, if you want to be involved in that, just come over and follow and watch along and we'll get you going. So that's what I've been doing with my time, as well as guesting on wonderful podcasts such as this. Just 2 recently, but, yeah, that's it. I'll stop, umming and taking up your time.
Yes. Ronnie joined me for talking about, we've mentioned it many times now, Stumptown Volume 1 by Greg Rucka. We talked about that on Monday, and while we were doing that, Sean Comer and Robert Winfrey were talking Space Reapers from Netflix. The next night, contrary to popular opinion, I was actually on this show. people were like, "Oh, he's not going to do Willy's Wonderland." I fucking pitched Willy's Wonderland. God damn it! I don't care what Alexis says. I pitched it. I am the one who knocks. Anyway.
Yes, you are.
Hello, podcast.
Hello. Oh no.
Oh God, he's going to make me talk about stuff. So yes, myself, Robert Winfrey, and Alexis Hana discuss Willy's Wonderland. Myself and the Podsman, or as we like to call ourselves now, the Hoverboardsmen. That's a joke for those of you who follow NXT. We actually reviewed the new NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. Tomorrow, the Metal Hammer of Doom, myself and Jesse Starcher will be reviewing Serenia, who the singer is Hotty Totsi. Ooh la la. That's the conversation Jesse and I had today. Serenia, Riddles, Ruins, and Revelations, as they like to call it. And then, because I was nagged into doing it, we're going to talk one of the many Oscar contenders for this year, Judas and the Black Messiah, myself and Alexis Hana. Never a more tone-deaf podcast than two middle-aged white people talking about the angry plight of the black man.
I was honestly going to wish you good luck with that.
I'm sure we'll only offend half the people who listen.
Yeah.
You can also check out, speaking of black folks, you can also check out our review of Black Panther: The Client. That was Evan Bevins and what? That was Evan Bevins and Chris Sheehan. The aforementioned Disenchantment season 3 review with myself, David Wright, and Robert Winfrey, and the new Corporal Cloney that came out. Lastly, thank you. Lastly, David Wright, Robert Winfrey, and the latest and greatest of our podcast family, my 10-year-old daughter Lily, will be doing a TV party this Sunday, a special recording time of this Sunday for Demon Slayer, which is currently airing on Netflix and Crunchyroll and wherever you can find your anime.
I'm actually pretty excited to hear her take on that.
Okay.
Well, as long as it's not the same take as that she has on every other movie.
I haven't heard any sort of feminazi complaints about Demon Slayer. She just gushes about it, and it was one of those things where it was like, Dad, you make me watch like the Fast and the Furious and the Lord of the Rings, and you make me watch this, and you make me watch that. Will you please watch Demon Slayer with me? And I offered to watch it just on my own, and I was like, I'll watch it when I have time. And she was like, no, we have to watch it together. I'm like, ugh.
Spending time with my daughter.
No, that's not it. That's not it at all.
I know. I'm just trying to get you riled up.
Oh God, I have so much. I don't have time to watch the shows I planned to podcast about, let alone this one.
Right.
But I promised her, and I am a man of my word. So
yeah, I know you are. And I mean, when it comes to the kids, you make time. I know you do. And here's the deal. Like, it took everything I had not to teleport myself to Florida. Well, to wherever, I don't know if you'd like to mention where you are. That kind of just came out. But it took me, it was hard enough not to teleport myself to your house to half berate your daughter for what she said about the Lord of the Rings. Like, what is your problem, girl? I know you're only 11. But
10.
How old is she?
She just turned 10.
Just turned 10. Yeah, sorry. I can't keep up with friends' kids' ages anymore. I mean, like, Jesse and his brood. I mean, like, I think he has a 40-year-old for a kid now.
Close.
Yeah, but anyway, Jesse and I are the same age. Just said he was old, but it's. Like, I just want to go, hey, you don't get to say that. That's not cool, because chivalry is still a thing.
Well,
I'm taking her to see, but she's going to go crazy when she watches Return of the King, though.
Well, we already have our tickets. We're set to see it Friday.
Okay,
and people have been asking me. They're like, "Will you please record her when Éowyn?" Spoilers: when Éowyn slays the Witch King on the Battle of Pelennor Fields. You need to.
Spoilers, he says.
Yeah, for a 20-year-old movie. Kate hadn't seen Lord of the Rings yet, listeners of Stumptown.
If you haven't seen it yet, you need to live your life. A little better.
But you know how, like, for a while, like, the gimmick was to record your kids watching The Empire Strikes Back and having them react to, like, Darth Vader reveal? People have been asking me to record Lily in her reaction to Eowyn slaying the Witch King.
I really want to see that, to be honest.
And like, I thought about it. One, I don't want to telegraph it. I really just want her to enjoy the moment, especially knowing how she is and how she desperately wants to see, females do heroic and brave things, which is laudable, by the way. I mean, like,
no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it definitely is. I joke. I love strong female characters.
So I want her to just revel in the moment.
Yeah, I get that.
I watched her. I think I told the story to somebody else, but I watched her when I brought her to go see Elizabeth Banks's last Charlie's Angels movie. And I don't want to get into a whole thing about that because that engendered an entire conversation about what an idiot Elizabeth Banks is. Yeah. But the fact of the matter was, she was an 8-year-old girl who watched 3 girls kick ass for 2 hours. And she's not a professional fucking film critic. She's a little girl who likes to see girls kick ass. And so she was having the time of her fucking life watching Charlie's Angels.
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah. That was 2019.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. You may recall last year was a lost year, but last year was 2020.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So anyway, that's a long way to go to say, my daughter harangued me into watching the stupid anime, so I'm going to do it for her because I love her. And I don't know why. I don't know why 2 other old men felt the need to be a part of this, but Robert Winfrey and David Wright will be there too.
Well, you said anime.
Yeah, well, yeah, duh.
I mean, come on. Can you find 2 bigger weebs that you know? I mean, let's be honest.
All right, and then you're going to come back for some other shows here. On Monday, we talked about doing Mythica. We're going to do this the Chef show.
Yes, and D&D, the Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2000.
Yeah, and next year the Dungeons and Dragons movie, because why not plan your life out years in advance?
Next year, I can't commit to that.
Okay, well, before then is Invincible. How about that?
That's too far away too.
It's May, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All right, so, Ronnie will be back to discuss Invincible and Mythica and the Chef Show and eventually Dungeons and Dragons and whatever other ill shit he wants to come on for. Ronnie always has an open invitation when he feels like
Absolutely. And you have an open invitation to say, hey, I need you for some stupid stuff.
Yep. You're on my on deck list. Yes. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us on our conversation of Stumptown tonight on TV Party Tonight. For Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.